Welcome to Move Your Mind. My name's Nick Brax, and this is a podcast where we have real conversations with real people and give real advice.
Ambition and burnout can go hand in hand. If you're the kind of person that's passionate, that's dedicated to your goals, that's willing to do whatever it takes to get what you want in your career, it can lead to burnout. And today's guest was an example of that, but she was able to manage the burnout, to find balance, to learn from her mistakes and get to where she is now, which is a pretty amazing place. Lara Norman is a young and passionate cook from Ibiza, Spain, and she was culinarily mesmerized since she was a toddler when she'd spend most of her time in the kitchen with her mother. She cooks with her heart and soul, which she believes are the main ingredients to success. She began to pursue a culinary journey at the age of 14, working in modest cafes, restaurants, bakeries, ice cream parlours, and built up her discipline that eventually led to her working alongside some of the most prestigious chefs in the world at venues she admired, such as the Ritz London. Lara recently began working as a private chef for clients across the UK, as well as offering international bespoke services. She's teamed up with a bunch of adrenaline junkies, including hard-working Michelin-star-turned chefs, bartenders, and sommeliers to offer you a ride of senses through the plate, and that's how her company Euphoria was born. She's also an ambassador for the Burnt Chef project that was launched in May 2019 with the sole intention of eradicating mental health stigma within hospitality. If you'd like to learn more about Move Your Mind or join the community, you can do so by going to moveyourmind.me, and you can find the Move Your Mind book by going to nickbrax.com/book. And we've also relaunched Underbrax and are donating $1 from each pair to mental health. You can find all of the links at underbrax.com. Thanks so much for listening and supporting Move Your Mind, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Lara, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so glad we finally got to do it. It's always hard coordinating between schedules and different countries and continents and whatever else. So really appreciate you making the time. I know how busy you are. So yeah, it's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. You know, it's beautiful to speak to people that are actually making changes and talking about this out loud and making a statement about mental health, which it has to be spoken about more. And I think now people are getting more aware about it. It's a big subject that if you don't have mental health, you can have anything in the world, but it will break down, fall down and collapse like a tower.
Totally. You know, we can't have enough conversations about it, and it's so true. It's, you know, we can push through and we think we can probably handle more than we actually can a lot of the time. And you often can, you know, get through it for a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years, but at some point it's going to collapse. So I think that's such an important message that I'm sure will, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you. You know, as I was saying, you know, we're this type of people that we're machines. We're constantly go. Sleep deprivation catches up with you. When you less expect it, your body will just give you signs that you tend to ignore it because there's no time. And, you know, there's always going to be things to do. There's always going to have a busy schedule. There's always new things going to come up. So you really got to prioritize that time for yourself, that time to, you know, like we're like cars. We need that fuel. We need to fill ourselves with nutrients. We need to hydrate. We need to sleep. And we need to have fun as well. This is a big thing that I always say. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are. You always got to try to release that inner child that it's all in us and just play. And, you know, I do that through painting. I find that it's a great form of meditation. It's just take some colors, let out what you have to let out, you know, like a beautiful canvas of how you feel.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? It's such a weird thing because it's like when we're kids, it's perfectly normal and acceptable to go and play, have fun, do all these creative things. But once you get to a certain age, you're sort of told, okay, that's like that's over. That part's done. You know, it's time to be an adult, and you know, you're not meant to do those things anymore. And it's kind of a strange concept because you're still the same person. It's like, why shouldn't you? You know, it's like so healthy to do that stuff, like what you're saying, go and paint and whatever else.
Exactly. You know, release that inner child. That otherwise, what's the point? We're always going to be constantly on that rat chase. And it's that rat race who never ends. It never ends. So, you know, you get to a point and you look back and you realize all that time wasted, you know?
Literally never ends. There's no end point. Yeah, exactly. So, Lara, are you able to give for our audience a background on yourself and I guess how you came to what you're doing now?
All right. Where do I start? How long we got? Well, I've always had that passion.
Exactly.
I've always been very mesmerized with food. So I was very lucky that I always knew since I was little, so I was a little toddler, that food will be my path. You know, I had, it's been a curse and a blessing that I started to do things very early. You know, I got with the wrong crowd of people. We got with a lot of overdose on drugs at one point, and I was going in a very dark pathway, academically. With my type of brain, I've got ADD. So my type of brain, I'm a highly believer that schools should really get to know what type of brain you've got, because maybe I'm that kind of person that will be really good at doing creative things, just physical stuff, but I can't stay still too long. So for me, I wasn't academically very good. So I got to go to college very early. This teacher had faith in me, and she knew I was good at being creative. So she helped me get into college early to get my health and hygiene diploma. So that let me enter the doors of hospitality. So I started working in places really modest, small bakeries, making my way up to restaurants. And then I decided to go on a Michelin adventure. So that's when I started sort of climbing the ladder, started working in privilege. I felt really privileged, working with some incredible chefs, incredible places. What you kind of have to, when you work in a Michelin star, you have to unlearn what you've learned. It's a completely different way of working. And, when you're really passionate about something, you take things to heart a lot. So this is why a lot of other chefs' minds can get quite dark at times. But when you just have to realize to give yourself a pat on the back as well, something that I'm still trying to learn. But yeah, so at the beginning of lockdown, I decided to sort of go on my own journey, and that's when Euphoria was born. So what Euphoria is a theatrical dining immersive experience where I created this sort of bubble it's a sort of collaboration bubble, showcasing everyone's talents. I've worked in incredible Michelin star restaurants, but I felt like everything was really generic. There was very robotic. There was no real contact with the guest. I love fine dining. You can get excellent food, excellent service, but I feel like there was that lack of fun. So that's when I wanted to do something a bit out of thinking about the box. So the concept started with Enchanting, sort of lost in the woods concept. And then I stopped myself and I said, how do I make it more crazy, more weird? I started getting in touch with performers from the circus, and then, everything started growing, and now there's 50 people in the team, and it's about a 4 hours experience.
Wow.
We host this in secret locations, places like churches, turn it into kind of like a psychedelic church. And then we do police stations as well. So it's just about kind of bringing fun to fine dining. And it's been a beautiful journey, as a creative. I was entering without any savings or any budget, I was entering a world of business where you're going to fall, but you got to keep going. Those obstacles and those mistakes are our biggest tool to really learn and see how much you want it. The universe, I'm a highly believer that always puts its obstacles, and you will fall, but then it will create another path, another unexpected path. It's like, I see everything as branches and roots, and it just grows, but you never know what direction it's going to take you. It's good to have a plan, but it's also good to have that flow, but just really work hard for it. And it's been a really incredible journey. But yeah, a lot of lack of sleep, so I can say. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And that's such a inspiring story that you've got. I mean, it's a pretty crazy jump to go and be doing what you're doing on that level. And yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, I guess being a creative and then being thrown into that business world, has that been a hard thing to navigate, to find, okay, how do I, you've gone and done something so, I guess, different to what you were doing, and then you're navigating, how do I make this work? Where do I go? How do I manage it all? Has that been a continual learning curve for you?
Always, yeah, absolutely. A big thing is we all need to know that it's like hospitality. When you enter a kitchen, you need to throw away that ego. You got to learn. You got to sort of like a sponge. You got to ask questions. I've been lucky that people have fallen into plays that have been really inspiring. Such as accountants, business coaches. And it's when you got your own business, you can't just rely on them to do the accounting. Rely on them to do your plan. You've got to have knowledge in every single sense and branch of your business. So of course, as being quite young, people do try to take advantage. You get a lot of sharks in business, but it's good to be aware of the sharks, and it's good to learn from them. But yeah, it's been a ride.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you were alluding to in the hospitality industry, sort of mental health issues for a number of reasons being a big issue. And I mean, I've seen it, heard about it myself, and always been interested. What are, like you touched on before, the core reasons for why that happens. Can you go into a bit more detail about that industry and where the problems are, and I guess what needs to be done to improve that?
There's so much that needs to be done. We've done a big step, and I think this is why I always say the lockdown again. It's been a curse, but it's also been a big blessing. This is why a lot of restaurants are just lacking of chefs, because the chefs in the lockdown have realised, that it was like being comfortable in a routine. You're constantly chasing, but I'm not actually seeing my family. They realised they had that time to stop and realise I'm not seeing my family, not getting paid much, I'm getting abused. Is this really worth it? I think a lot of people woke up during the lockdown and have realised that. And we did a big jump there where it's like now people speak about it out loud. That's where I met Chris Hall, which is the founder of the Burnt Chef Project, which is a beautiful man that started just out of no profit whatsoever, just wanted to do this out of heart. And now it's spreading worldwide, getting a bunch of family, we call it a family, bunch of chefs uniting together to really make a change. I've seen it happen. And it's devastating, because there's people, okay, they're chasing a goal and their dream, but they're being loyal to your dream as well. If you're the owner of a restaurant, you've got these people working so hard, sacrificing every day. They're doing it for you. They're doing it for your restaurant, as much as they are for them. But the least you can do is show them respect. I've had experiences where I've seen chefs throwing dip fryers of oil on the floor, chefs choking other chefs. I've been so loyal to them for years. And these chefs, I feel quite, I've always created a lot of drama wherever I've worked, because I always stood up for people and I stood up for rights. I love discipline, but when you cross that line of disrespect, I just don't like seeing it. So I've seen chefs that unfortunately don't have that confidence within themselves, and they're scared. I think fear is a big subject of why people don't speak out loud, because this is big chefs we're talking about, known worldwide, and they're scared of them affecting their career in a way. They can do that, but do you want to work with that kind of people? If they, I'd rather work for a beautiful local restaurant that do beautiful food and look after the team properly than work for some arrogant chef that can't even feed their chefs, that are doing 19-hour shifts. There's places I've worked,
totally,
waking up at 6 a.m. and finishing at 2 a.m. eating a banana like a criminal in the tri-store, and this happens every day. And again, it's like psychopaths and bad people. I try to understand them. I try to get to the root of why are they like that, and I feel that empathy for them, because I feel like that's out of insecurity. I feel like they've got some sort of power in this kitchen, and it's all insecurities coming out and they project onto others, and they make them feel worse for them to lift themselves up a little bit. And again, a lot of cases, it's like having parents. They got educated like that. These old school chefs. So they think that's a way to educate. It's hard to unlearn what you've learned. So I think that's a major issue. But I think now so many people but I feel like, for example, the Michelin stars. Why should we give a Michelin star to a restaurant that you get a magical experience in the front, but the back of the house is a full abuse? I feel like you should get someone undercover, do one trial shift in the kitchen, and then realize you only need one day to realize how toxic a kitchen can be. And I think that should be introduced to the Michelin Awards, and it should create more awareness. And people have to really, and I think they are already, this is why restaurants are struggling with chefs, because chefs will not go back to entering those doors until this real change is done.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it's so interesting because we, the public just get presented the front end part of it, like what you're saying, and we're not privy to a lot of that. And I mean, being pushed to that level, no one can sustain that. And then having odd hours, being, it'd be lonely having to work late nights and all that sort of thing. It reminds me a lot actually of the entertainment industry that I've had a little bit of experience in, and the public get presented to this sort of, just the front end of it, but there's so many negative things happening behind the scenes, so many mental health issues coming from it, and it's sort of not talked about enough, not enough's done about it. There's not enough, provisions in place to deal with it. And then people don't feel like they're allowed to talk about it, or they feel like if they do something about it or stand up for it, that they're going to, sacrifice their career. And it's a really negative thing. So it sounds very similar.
Absolutely. I think every industry really, if you really step back, fashion, same, it's a lot of selfishness. I always say we're not here to do a mission alone. I mean, this is why I love Kitchens. We're here to collaborate. We're here to help each other. If everyone just stopped and just helped each other, you could grow so much more than just doing the mission alone. And the industries will change. If it was that care, that awareness for others, a lot of people are not aware for their surroundings. And I think, as I was saying, I think a lot of people are starting to really wake up to this and wake up to energies as well. I've worked in kitchens that are so toxic that you can taste that in the food. I always say I step back from the stoves if I'm feeling very stressed or feeling really depressed or down, because you'll be able to taste that. Same as anything you do.
I love that. I think that's such self-awareness in that, because if you're trying to do things or be creative or do anything when you're feeling burnt out or stressed or, not in a good place, it is going to reflect. And it's that difficult thing, especially when you're a high achiever or in a high achieving environment. It's so the natural sort of thing is I'm going to actually push harder. If I'm feeling stressed, that means I'm anxious and I need to do more, when actually pulling back often helps us get, further along the path. And I mean, how have you been able to, apply that again to your own business when you've got, probably daily demands, as, so many, a lot of it's hinging on you, how do you find that balance? I know in my own business, I find that really difficult, and I find it hard to switch off. The same with what I do in acting and that career. You're constantly wanting to put pressure on yourself. It's really hard to find that balance. Is that something you have had to just really
Absolutely.
teach yourself to do?
Well, yeah, I love the fact that it came in a perfect time in that question, because I'm just recovering now from a burnout. This is why I want to speak, because I'm that kind of person for years. And I started working in kitchens when I was 12. So for years, I'm quite young, which it's been quite helpful to do this sort of hours. I've always been on the go. I'm that kind of person that if I stop, I can, I can go quite dark sometimes. So for me, it's always been go, 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 chase, chase, chase. You get there, you're not that fulfilled. What's next? Having a business, you're in charge of absolutely every branch of the business. So I've reached a point in my health that, for example, in the last event I did, didn't sleep. I was not sleeping more than an hour and a half each night for the last 3 months. And it got to just after the event where I was cleaning down in a church, and I just collapsed in the altar of a church because my body just said no. And that's the real danger of burnout, because your body will give you signs, you will ignore them, and you will keep going, and you will reach a point of a mental breakdown where things that you're even talented with, you just can't do. Things that you just can't even get your words out. That you just go into that state that your body shuts down. So with me, of a project that I've loved so much as my business, it's like my baby, So when I'm feeling very demotivated, I try not to touch it. It's hard when you're relying on it, when you need to keep it going. So fortunately, I have a great team, which they know exactly what to do. I'm always watching, but if I ever get to the case where I did last month, they'll be there for me as a unity. You treat them how you want to be treated, and it will come back in emergency cases like that. So I've been really lucky in that sense, but it just shows that doesn't matter how old you are, your age, or how much passion you got, you want to push harder, but your body will just tell you to stop. and that again can just be definitely not beneficial for your business. So it's just being aware of when your limits and when to stop, even if you think you don't have limits.
Everyone does. And are there things that you sort of on a regular basis do for yourself to try and manage your mental health and well-being, just to keep yourself grounded and on top of things? Are there daily sort of things you do?
Well, of course, eat well now. You know, I will go days as a chef. Funny enough, we never really get to sit down and eat with cutlery. You know, we're just constantly like standing up, working, having all the treatments.
Yeah.
So eating well, that's been a huge life change. I train a lot. You know, for me, gym has to be a priority. I know that the natural endorphins, you got to release them. So you got to make that a priority, even though you're busy. I meditate, which is, you know, a lot of people get meditation wrong. I was that kind of person where, oh no, I can't meditate because my brain is always on the go. I just can't stop. That's what meditation's all about. You don't expect you're going to shut your eyes and go into that blank space straight away. You know, you got to just shut your eyes, breathe with your breathing techniques, and analyze yourself, analyze your day. It's going to be full of chaos at the beginning, but if you just keep that routine and keep that discipline every day, you'll realize that you can really achieve that blank space throughout work, which is hard work. Meditation is not all relaxation, you know. So I do that, and of course I prioritize the time to paint. I prioritize that time that, okay, I've got so much to do, that will take that 1 hour, just get that canvas, splash away the colors and release everything that my brain needs to release.
Yeah, give yourself, it's so important to make that time. I think that's such a good point, to be able to just step back and make that time to go and do those things to recharge, because it really does. You also touched on how you've got ADD earlier. I know a lot of people that have ADD, and it wasn't till, I think I have it. I haven't actually been diagnosed with it yet, but I mean, the more I've looked into it, there's just not a lot of proper education on it. And in school, you know, people can get categorized or told that there's a problem there, or, you know, so many things. What's your experience been with that? Do you think there needs to be more education about it? What are some ways that you've learned to try and manage it, and how, and then also how has it been beneficial? Because I think there's also, you know, things that come from that actually allow you to achieve in ways other people often can't, with your brain, you know, functioning in that way.
Completely.
Thank you so much for supporting Move Your Mind. We're expanding the offerings of the organization, and we're tailoring everything we do to suit you guys and to try and answer to all of your needs and the questions that you send in. The book is available globally. You can find all of the links at nickbracks.com/book. And we've just released the Move Your Mind community. We've currently got a men's community group, a women's community group, a general group. We're going to be loading up other groups, and you can find all of the links at moveyourmind.me. This group's been created based on the needs of what we've heard and learnt throughout running Move Your Mind. And we have live events, we've got courses, we've got huge amounts of value, the ability to share information, share ideas, work in groups together to grow and share your learnings, to learn about different topics. You get email reminders. There's a whole lot of features in there. We're constantly updating it, and we're so excited to share it with you. You can find all of the information about it at moveyourmind.me.
Completely. Well, as I was saying, I think schools need to be aware that all kids are going to have different brains, you know. Why are we getting taught the same way? That would not be beneficial. It might be beneficial for some kids, but it might be completely the opposite way for someone that's got ADHD or ADD, you know, how to make it more creative. You know, I don't take Ritalin because I feel like it's got the benefits. You know, I'm quite grateful actually to have ADD because my intuition is always very on point. You get really good intuition, you know, you analyze eyes. I think the eyes is a whole universe. It tells a lot of stories, the eyes, and it tells a lot of truth. So I'm very intuitive with that, and also creativity, and also actually hard working. I find like it just helped me a lot to that be constantly on the go as well. But you know, I think people need to be aware that ADD does make you, just because you might not be focused on certain things, you will be way more talented in other things. It's just finding that balance, but being aware that that because you're not focused, that doesn't make you stupid at all. I've had that in my mind, that really not good with maths and really like doing maths lessons. I thought I was stupid when I was a kid, and a lot of kids will make me feel like that. But actually I'll be very talented in certain other subjects. So this is what people need to be aware more. And again, people with ADHD and ADD, they seem to connect within each other. All my friends, most of them got ADD or ADHD, and I think people are more aware now, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like no pharmaceuticals should be needed for a certain amount for a certain brain. I think that that shouldn't need a remedy. That's the way you are, and just honor it and play with it. What can your brain achieve? What your mind can achieve? Everyone's got different talents. And this is why I love mixing different completely types of people together in one room. You learn from each other, you absorb from each other. That's the beauty of humanity.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. And I think that's really interesting, because I think from what I've heard about ADHD, a lot of people do get medicated for it. That's a lot of the time the approach that, in psychology, that they'll say, no, you need to be medicated, you need Adderall or Ritalin or whatever it is. But I think, yeah, from what I've seen, like what you're saying, yes, it is going to be hard to do certain tasks where you need to be sitting there and trying to focus on one thing for a whole day or whatever it is. But why would you want to change that anyway? It's like saying someone that's good at, as an accountant, probably not going to be good doing some crazy creative performance or something, but they don't want to, that's not what they're trying to do. So I think it becomes like a superpower, and I think it leads you to doing things entrepreneurial and creative things, which if you had the mind where you were just focused on one thing at a time, you probably wouldn't go and run a company, because to run a business, you got to be thinking about boom, 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 boom. And it's kind of like suits that kind of mind. So I think the universal message with it from ADHD that applies to everything else is you got to embrace yourself, understand yourself, be aware of your flaws, work out how you can get support for the areas that you struggle with. And that applies to, anyone and anything in life.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I love what you said about it. It's a superpower. I think as humans, we got superpowers. Some people call me crazy. I think I'm just aware. I feel like, again, intuition, a lot of people say it's coincidence. If you really want it, if you really feel it, you'll be surprised how much you can actually manifest, and it can actually happen. You've got to work hard for it, though. The universe doesn't give it to you that easy. But I totally agree with that. We got powers, but I feel like in the society we live in, they're being quite shut down.
Mm-hmm.
We're being tried. I think they don't want us to believe in the power that we have, and only if everyone just believed a bit more and had that knowledge and just united. As I was saying in the last call, it's quite primitive. It's quite a tribal thing. And this is why I love the collaboration things, about helping each other, because you'll be so surprised what much more you can achieve.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's sort of like you're saying, you've got to work hard, but you've also got to really believe in yourself. It's a combination of everything. And I think a lot of the time people, get one or two of them right, or we might hear some sort of motivational speaker and we'll see someone doing something and think, if I just believe enough, this could happen, but they're not put in the work, or you might be working too hard in the wrong way. So it's finding that happy medium where you can work really hard in the area that's suited to you, but also not being attached to the end result, which is another question I wanted to ask you about. Again, you touched a little bit on this, but I've done so much work on myself, and I'm continually trying to sort of grow and be self-aware about this stuff, but I still, on a daily basis, I'm naturally, again, like I said, I probably have ADHD, and my mind's jumping and I'm thinking about things, I'm projecting to the future. I can't stop. And I find it so difficult to not be really present. And then, with a business or with, anything you're doing in your career, it's part of what you need to do is be thinking about the future and trying to grow it, but also, how do you stay grounded and not be attached to these future goals, but achieve what you need to achieve at the same time? For me, I don't have an answer to, how you sort of get that balance. It's a continual evaluation, but is that something that you have found difficult, and what's your process for dealing with that?
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that one either. I'm constantly trying to stay present. I'm that kind of brain. I'm always, like you say, it's good to have a plan. It's always good. As humans, we always need a purpose.
Yeah.
I think purpose in anything we do, that's what keeps us going, keeps us motivated, keeps us inspired. It's absolutely normal that you get demotivated at times, but that's for a reason. If you'll be motivated all the time, or everything was going great all the time, how can you appreciate things when they go good? If things don't go well from time to time. And for me, the staying present, you forget to enjoy the journey. As I was saying, on our last call, we're constantly on this rat race, and we're constantly on this hamster wheel, and we want more, and we get there and we're not fulfilled, and we're like, what's next? And if you're going to constantly do that, you're going to get to when you're old, and then you're going to realize all the time wasted, and I didn't appreciate any of it because I was constantly on that mission. You're always going to be in a mission, but you've got to really stop and realize, actually, instead of today keeping that really, really busy schedule, I'm going to try see my family for a little bit. I'm going to try see my friend, because you never know what's next. So it's really trying to prioritize it today, not just the tomorrow, And again, I'm constantly doing work on myself, I think it was the last 3 years that I really understood my body, understood what it needed. Your body's constantly speaking to you, it's constantly telling you things. And now I understand what's good, what's bad. And, I think once you've got that, everything seems to flow much easier.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a really good point. Like what you're saying, it's sort of taking it back to simplifying, okay, today, what are the things that are important? How can I bring myself back to be more present today, and not trying to, I think we get taught that we need to get to a certain point where we've just got everything sorted. You've got to do all the things everyone said you meant to do, and then everything's going to be fine after that, which is just the biggest lie. It's complete bullshit, because you've got to keep living your life every single day.
Yep.
And there's no end. And it's not about getting everything right or having everything lined up or everything perfectly flowing. It's about just, things could be falling apart in your life, but you could be, the most present you've ever been, and be sort of really taking so much more out of it, and do it, because it's about what you're actually feeling and experiencing, and how you're interacting with other people on a daily basis.
But that's it. I completely agree with that. It's like having, we're so told to have a structure. It's always good to have a structure, but it's always good to flow as well. It's like, I think we live in a society that we'll get one job. What talents we got? Okay, I'm good at this. I'm going to get this job, and I'm going to stick to this. Why? Why can't we do a bit of it all? Why can't you just learn different skills? Okay, it's good to be focused in one, but expand yourself, open your wings, learn new things, make mistakes, learn from it. And, I love mistakes, you just got to try until you nail it. And it's the most satisfying thing in the world, the fulfillment. When you've made so many mistakes and you get it right, and it just clicks. And the same with every skill you're going to learn, and the same with everything you're going to do in life. Just about trying. But don't limit yourself into a box. I think that's the worst thing that anyone can do, because then you realize, even if you're not confident, your fear, I think all goes back to that fear, isn't it? Fear of letting go of a comfort zone. And the same goes to people of their belief. I think people are actually really aware, but they're just really comfortable in the truth that society has given us. So they're just comfortable and like to stay there, which I respect as well. But it all goes back, I think, that fear of getting out the comfort zone.
Yeah, the fear, because it's the unknown, and it's wanting to control everything. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that we don't have a lot of control over things, and we don't need to. It's like, so when you really think about it, big picture, or like what you were saying before, you think, when I'm looking back on my life, what are the things I'm going to care about? I'm not going to be worried about whether I made a mistake here or embarrassed myself or, all these daily things we worry about. You're going to think about the important things. So letting go of that and just being present and listening to yourself, listening to what is it that I actually need, because we just put too much pressure on things. It's crazy. Yeah, so much pressure.
Completely. And it's we really, again, goes back to the power. We have power of how our day's going to go. If we're going to have this really miserable energy, really angry, really stressed, really frustrated, which, believe me, sometimes we just have no control of it, but we just go into that self-destruction where when we know exactly what to do and make ourselves better, where we kind of victimize ourselves maybe in our mind a bit, and we just decide how our day is going to go. It's like, just a really stupid example, but you call in someone, you're being put on hold. Are you going to be, this is a friend that was telling me yesterday, I really liked her theory, and she was like, instead I was getting really frustrated, being on hold for a long time, instead of being frustrated, there was some music in the background, the hold, I just danced away, and it can really change how your day is going to go with absolutely everything. If you're waiting in a room, waiting for an appointment, look around, speak to someone, connect. Where I live in London, I find it really selfish city. I smile at people and people find it really shocking. There's that constant chase. It's like people just stopped a bit and realized the amount of opportunities that the world constantly puts you around you. It's fascinating, and I think people need to connect more, be more open, release, let it out, let go of all the negativity and just change. But it's not as easy as it sounds. It's good to also have the bad days, but try to make them better.
Try to learn from them, and put your best foot forward, and just continually reminding yourself that there's no magical answer, and that happiness doesn't lie in the future or these achievements or this plate. There's no arrival. We've already arrived. We're here. If we can't find a way to feel present and happy right now, we're never going to in the future. And it's a really hard thing to get your head around, because we're so conditioned to it. And I love what you said at the beginning about, you got taught that, okay, you got to unlearn everything that you've learned. And that was actually the first thing when I first got into acting, in acting school. The first day the teacher said, you now need to unlearn everything you've learned over the last 20 plus years. If you really want to be able to do this, you got to let go of all these things. And it was just such an interesting thing, and something that I think about all the time.
It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. It's like we're constantly learning, we're constantly unlearning and learning new things and getting inspired. It's just being open to that.
Exactly. How was COVID for you with your business and everything that you do? How was that experience? How did you get through it? Was it difficult? How was that experience for you?
My name's Nick Braxton. I'm a storyteller who has dedicated my entire adult life to creating positive conversations around mental health. In recent years, discussions around mental health have become less taboo and entered the mainstream vernacular. I've delivered over 1,000 mental health seminars around the globe, including several TED Talks, and I believe we all have a story to tell. In my book, Move Your Mind, I cover my story and stories from people that inspire me, as well as insights from world-leading mental health experts. This book will help you to learn how to recognize mental health issues before they become a problem. Use your personal challenges as motivators, take ownership of your well-being, and create new daily habits that increase happiness and reduce stress.
Well, fortunately, COVID actually gave me that chance to stop. As I was saying, I was just completely on that rat race, which still am in a way. But, constantly just doing these long hours, working again for someone else, which they helped me massively to get to where I am today. But at the end of the day, that made me realize that I want to do it my way. And it's, again, just completely doing what I've been told not to do. Why can't you bring this fun to fine dining? And for me, it was a blessing the way, when the world sort of stopped, I moved. And I did so much, and I thought that the future will be private dining. So this is why I did my catering company, doing private dining, then sort of just blossomed to do theatrical immersive experiences as well. And it's constant new pop-ups coming up and new collaborations. And I got to know a lot of incredible chefs. You know, Instagram was a great platform. You know, I don't really like social media. I find it quite toxic, but it's also, again, a blessing in certain ways. It's like meeting you today, meeting Warren, you know, it's connecting people. So that's a beautiful thing of it, if used correctly. You know, I always say it, going to another subject, but I always say social media, it should be, because we always post a success, it should be one post of failures and then post a success to it, you know, post a whole journey, not just all the success that you've done. But yeah, again, COVID is just, it got me to connect with incredible people, you know, we shared stories, met people that had the trust in me, you know, being an ambassador in the Burn Chef project. I've had random chefs that I don't know let their heart out, you know, telling me how they feel. And I just felt so honored that they felt safe, they felt comfortable with me. And it's again about people, you know, we always be there for each other. You just really got to, you know, let out what you feel. Don't stick it inside of you. Don't swallow it up. I've always been that kind of person that if I'm in a dark way, I disappear. And, you know, my friends will tell you I just don't read my messages. I'll completely just disappear because in a way I don't want to project that darkness, but it's a really bad move because then you're just intoxicating yourself till the day you will blow up. And you just got to start to learn to let it go.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's such a good message. And love everything you've talked about here, and you know, thank you for being so open and sharing everything. And I know our listeners will, you know, take so much out of this. So we have 5 closing questions that we finish every episode with. So these can be sort of whatever answer comes to mind. Before I go into that, where can we, if our listeners want to learn more about you or find any other information, where can we send them?
You can send them to my normal chef Instagram, or even through my website. I'm always happy to, you know, even if they want to send me a message to let it out, you know, I'm always happy to jump on a Zoom, jump on a call. You know, I love to meet people. I love to connect with people, and, you know, they will tell me their stories. I will tell them their stories, and we create a safe space where we can all speak to each other, you know, and let out the feelings. And from the darkness, I always say you have to go through darkness to get to the brightness. So through darkness, it's always
absolutely
brightness.
So we'll put all of the links to your website and Instagram in the show notes. So anyone listening, go to those links, check out what Laura does, and yeah, definitely. So the first question is, thank you.
Thank you.
What's your best childhood memory?
Oh, best childhood memory. Oh, that's a really tough one.
One of them, yeah.
Well, I just remember I just love the sea. So we're being from Ibiza, being from the island. I've got so many that when I used to forage, you know, I foraged with my mum when we were little, foraging rocket and bivouac fresh almonds. And that just really, I've always been so in love with food. It created this fire, this spark inside of me. So I think the foraging times with my mum.
I mean, it must have been pretty incredible growing up there. It's like, it's such a beautiful place.
I'm so glad you say it's a beautiful place and not just a party site. yeah, it's got a beautiful side of it, you know, and it was very wild, very free, very open. At the age of 9, unfortunately, my parents had to separate. My brother and my dad went to UK, and me and my mum went to northwest Spain. It's beautiful, northwest Spain. It was very close mentality. So that was very strange from going somewhere so free to a very close mentality, you know. But again, it was all great experiences.
What would you say is the biggest burden on mental health in society today? The biggest burden, sorry.
I think it's not prioritizing that. Burden. I think it's not prioritizing that time for yourself. I think it's really being that, you know, because unfortunately when we have a set job, we can't be flexible. Sometimes you're going to have a mental breakdown, and your employers have to be understandable of that, okay, you're not ill, but you are ill in a way, you know. Being ill doesn't mean always physical. It means from here as well, you know. So it's having that comfort, that safe zone to be able to calling sick when you're really not there, and I think that's a big stress for people. And of course, it all goes back to money as well, how sometimes so there should be more help.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point, what you're saying there. What would you say is your personal definition of happiness?
Well, happiness, that's a hard one, because happiness is, looking around you and being so grateful of what you've got, But unfortunately, when you are depressed as well, you can have all of this and realize, like, why that's when you make yourself feel more depressed. I've got all of this. Why do I feel like that? But being aware of what you've got, being really, really
I think
aware of what you've got.
That's such a good, simple way to look at it. Be so aware of what you've got. What are the positives here? Even the fact if we're just healthy and able to just function day to day, then that's pretty amazing. That's yeah.
Health, we should be so grateful. If you don't have health, you can have anything in the world and everything again will collapse.
What are you most afraid of?
It's a 10-year anniversary of Underbrax, and we've relaunched with the classic white pair. We've also got new styles coming out super soon. We're donating $1 from every pair to mental health, currently to 1 in 5. You can find all of this at www.underbrax.com.
I'm afraid of being on that constant chase, not learning how to give myself a pat on the back, which I'm still trying to learn, is that constant chase. I feel like I've got a very addictive personality, and it's hard to find that fulfillment and that self-belief. Funny enough, I think being ambitious, being so passionate, it's never good enough. So it's just really finding, there's nothing such as perfection, is really finding just that balance.
Yes,
in life.
I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. And we can definitely relate.
We can relate.
So final one, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud of throwing myself into something that I thought it was impossible. I'm proud of more than, I've had people that didn't have that belief in me when I first came with the idea of Euphoria, what I want to do, that's impossible. It's not about even proving them wrong, it's about proving myself wrong. And I think I'm really proud of proving myself that I was wrong, nice, that it's actually possible. And just actually doing it, say something and do it.
And I think when you do that, you prove to yourself, okay, I can do anything. You build that belief system that I think it's so great. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything.
Thank you, Nick. And likewise, it's so amazing. Yeah, and it's so amazing what you're doing and what you've done and what you're about to do. So thank you for creating such a beautiful platform where people can just speak out loud and actually create a change. And now that I know you're an actor as well, I'll be in touch.
Definitely, please, get in touch about it. Yeah, for sure. No, thank you so much, and been so great. So glad we got to do it, and we'll make sure to push out everything you're doing to our audience. And thank you again. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise, Nick. And Chris from the Burnshot Project's really looking forward to this as well. To expand this
absolutely,
family, big families.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for today and for everything.
Thanks to Lara Norman for joining me today for Move Your Mind. And just another reminder that the Move Your Mind book is now available globally. You can find all of the links at nickbrax.com/book, and you can join the Move Your Mind community by going to moveyourmind.me.